right, I will continue. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to John Patriot. Who is John Patriot? We don't know who John Patriot is, but we are John Patriot. We are going to stand up for what we believe is right. So we're going to stand together. I've asked Pastor Ron Merritt from Cornerstone Church of God. Did I get that right?
That's right.
He's going to lead us in the pledge, prayer first, and then Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. Please do. Thank you, Lord, for a time to get together. Lord, we know it's your desire that we be informed, that we can be faithful watchers on the wall. Hallelujah. Lord, bless this time together, and we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Let's do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm not old, but I remember when they added the words under God.
A member of the Campbell County Cemetery District Board of Trustees is sounding the alarm over what he believes are improper payouts to several Gillette-based nonprofit groups. Cowboy State Daily's Jackson Walker reports that Board Treasurer Dean Baumhoff was recently surprised to learn that the board allocates about $10,000 a year to local charities, which have nothing to do with cemetery operations.
He argued that this isn't necessarily the responsibility of the cemetery board, but other members of the board told me that this is just being a good neighbor. Now, if the cemetery board is going to receive tax dollars from the community, they argued that they should be reinvesting in their community and being a good neighbor. And I spoke to one Campbell County commissioner that said that this issue might be worth taking a look at for a potential misuse of taxpayer dollars.
While the money represents a small portion of the cemetery district's $44 million budget, Baumhoff said this money would be better used for cemetery beautification and hiring maintenance workers.
I'm going to read a letter from Dean Baumhoff. He sent me a note to share with you all. So if you all just read along with me, sorry we don't have follow the bouncing ball, but you can go along with me. Said, good afternoon, Ed. I have met to meet a contractor in Lead tomorrow at noon, so I will not be able to make the Patriot meeting. I invited him to come and speak, but he couldn't come to speak to us, so he typed out a quick letter. First, I want to thank you and your group for all your help. Yay. You can let your friends know in your meeting tomorrow that the Attorney General advised our attorney that we should not be funding economic development or the Chamber of Commerce. We did not make a motion to that effect because we're waiting on a letter from the Attorney General to advise us on what we can and can't do. I would like to make a motion to stop all funding of those two groups as well as Happy Girls and also other nonprofits. But I need a second on the motion, and I'm still working on that. Thank you for all the support and speaking up on my behalf. I would greatly appreciate if we could have another large group at our November 5th meeting. So keep that in mind, November the 5th. And I believe that those meetings are at, is it 10:45? 10:45. I always say 10:30. It's 15 minutes early. I'm doing good. So he says we have another large group on November 5th meeting like we had last week. Sincerely, Dean. And anybody that went to that meeting, would you like to just make a quick comment about that?
Thank you. I was at that meeting, and I'll tell you what, you could not wipe the smile off Dean's face when you saw the people there to speak up on his behalf and support him. And this is the scratch on the top of the cream. It's happening all around. It just hasn't gotten exposed as much as this has, and it was because Baumhoff gave us the information. But all the stuff we give money to nonprofits with our tax dollars, my personal belief is not legal. But I know we got people looking at that. I think there's statutes that clearly state that. But unless we stand up and we hear our voices and let these people hear us, it's not going to change because it'll happen beyond the cloak of darkness, we will, they didn't expect anybody to come to these meetings. In fact, they said, correct me if I'm wrong, nobody comes. Well, if nobody goes, you don't know what the heck they're doing. But I'm glad this is happening, and I hope that other people listen to this and take heed to this. There are consequences for decisions like that.
Come on, absolutely.
That's what happened at the library board meetings, remember? Nobody ever went.
Yeah, exactly. Until we showed up. And then all of us. Yeah. Go ahead.
When you're done.
When I'm done.
So the impetus for us to come the first time was that the president, Jim Hastings, kept saying repeatedly, nobody cares what we do, as evidenced by the fact that nobody comes. Therefore, it wasn't 10,000, it was about 16,000 to these three different groups. And all three of these groups, he has either sat on the board or he's currently on the board. So what he's doing is using one of his positions to spend money on another position. It's all linked with him at the crux benefiting from it. And he's using our taxpayer money. And the point is, all three of these groups are already getting 1% funds from either the city or the county. So for him to give cemetery money, that's double dipping into our pockets. They're getting our left and our right pocket, front and back, however you want to look at it. They're taking from the taxpayers twice for these groups. And he feels like it's okay because we don't care, as evidenced by the fact that we're not there. So we made a big point to say, oh, we do care. There were about 12 of us there, and my jaw hit the ground when I turned around and saw all the other people that showed up there too. So they only meet once a month. It's during, the middle of a Wednesday, but they have a workshop in the morning, which starts at 9:30. And the regular business meeting starts at 10:45. And I would love to surprise Jim and show him how much we care. He feels like there's just no one giving him love and attention, and I think we should do that. So I'm going to start diverting a little bit of my time and do that and make him feel special. Like all the other boards that we attend, he feels left out. So just so that he knows that we care. Another issue, one thing that was mentioned during this meeting by another trustee, which really caught my attention, was we essentially were to be thankful that they were allowed to charge 3 mills and they only charged a little over 1. Well, the fact is we know they have over 49 million in reserve. So if less and less people every year are actually getting buried in a cemetery, more people are being cremated. Why do you need a reserve this large? So bully for you not charging us 3, but why are we still paying over 1? If you have 49 million that's earning interest every year, it's working for us, at a certain point, why can't we cut that back to a half? That was my idea. Yeah, at least we can lessen it, because we certainly don't need that kind of funds. But we were made to feel that we should feel grateful that they didn't more than double it. So I think that fellow wasn't feeling enough love and attention too. So. Yes. Yes, well, yeah. You have something coming up?
Where are these board meetings? At the cemetery, which if you, which street is this? I don't even know what street the cemetery's on. But anyway, if you go up 7th or 8th Street, yep, and you make the second left into the cemetery, and it's on the right-hand side. Yep, yeah, exactly. Yeah, 10:45, yes. Yeah, I want to say 10:30, but it's 10:45. Yes. I saw a hand in the back.
I have the same question.
What's that? Where are they at? Yep, that's where they are. Okay, did we get our questions answered? Did you want to say something?
Well, I have, I'm looking for someone to help me with my new radiation detector, and we probably all need one of these very soon. So I'm still trying to learn how to use it. So if you do have expertise with this, let me know so I can get it set up right. and it detects nuclear radiation, a little portable. And I was talking to Rich Weber today, and I asked him, well, you know, what can we do about what the governor's doing with the BWTX? And John might have more on this, but there's a lady, I don't have her name on this, but she's got a little initiative to stop the 1 million nuclear giveaway. And I have 25 copies of this, and we will put it on the Patriot email. And if she goes over things we can do, and one is to call. And so maybe somebody could hand those out. Pass those, maybe Laura would just pass them to the back. And then I got a Facebook message from Ann Lucas, and perhaps John could share more on this. There is a obscenity exemption that's been put forth in legislature, not passed yet, but that was encouraging to hear that. And so I hope, John, can you share some on that? Awesome. But that's all I wanted to do is to get this paper out, and we'll try to put more information out on what we can do.
Thank you for doing that. One thing, and then I'll ask John if you want to come up after I share this, just some other thing that you might want to know. This week, the former library director settled with the county library board for $700,000 after book banning. Does that resonate with anybody in here? We came in as good Germans and we, like Hitler, and banned the books, didn't we? No, that's not what we wanted. We didn't want books banned or anything like that. It's been totally misrepresented. Our newspaper is doing that, and after years of political and legal turmoil over the library books and LGBTQ plus, which we tried not ever to say, all we wanted were the bad books, not even removed. A lot of us didn't say removed, we just said move, right? Not remove, move. And so former Campbell County Public Library System Executive Director Terry Leslie has agreed to a $700,000 settlement with Campbell County and the County Library Board. That was written by Gillette News Record, and County 17 came in with fired Wyoming librarian, hopes $700,000 settlement deters conservative lawmakers. Do we have a conservative lawmaker in the House? Is that going to stop you, slow you down?
Finish the headline.
Okay, I'm going to do that, John, right away.
It won't.
They say it won't. And John, I think you agree with that?
I do.
Okay, all right, so that's good. And Lucas called today, and I'm sure she's in agreement with it, and a lot of other people in our legislature. So we're happy about that. Yes, Ron?
Is that $700,000 come from an insurance company, or is that taxpayer dollars?
Insurance company, yes. Yes, they like to do that. They like to settle out of court.
And their side likes to say it's taxpayer money, it is not.
Right. Right.
Well, how did they pay the premium? There you go. It's taxpayer money.
It just, like Troy says, it's pennies from heaven. Yeah, exactly. John, why don't you come on up and share what you've got while I answer Mark's question? Go ahead, Mark.
Not really a question, but on the subject, the commissioners meeting last week was in rain, so it wasn't broadcast live. But I just looked a few minutes ago, and it appears that the video is downloaded or uploaded now to the county website.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you, John. Thanks for being here.
Well, you bet. I didn't intend to talk tonight, but since you asked. So there were like 3 different things you wanted me to cover. First of all, I want to say Mark has the best looking hat here tonight. All right, so let me start with the last thing you talked about, Ed, and that was the settlement. And so I've been posting out there my thoughts on this, and I was interviewed on an article. I knew that the narrative would be bad on this library settlement, but that's what insurance companies do, and they did it to us when the county commissioners tried to stop gambling with the OTBs, and the insurance company decided to settle. The county commissioners were doing the right thing, but the tort laws that we have are such that the insurance company is going to lose either way. If they win the suit, it costs them a bunch of money. If they lose the suit, it costs them a bunch of money. If they settle, it'll cost them less. So they're always going to choose to settle. I want to take just a moment and talk about that, tort reform. We had a bill this last session. It was run by Pepper Ottman. It was called anti-SLAPP. That's strategic lawsuits against private property or private persons. Basically, it's trying to take your First Amendment rights away. The left does this routinely. They sue you, so you're afraid to say something. And so we had a bill that if they lost the suit, because they're all frivolous, then they had to pay the court costs and the attorney's fees. And that passed the House, and I'll let you guess what happened after that. So anti-SLAPP is something we need to continue to do if we're ever going to change the way the left operates. But back to the library thing, this is the final thought you need to remember. We're the only library system in the nation that has moved the books out of the children's section. So is $700,000 worth it to get rid of a director who was never going to move the books so that we don't have books that sexualize children in the children's section of our libraries? So keep that in mind. We did win. They won't want to talk about that, but they didn't even sue us about that. They sued us over the way she was fired. And if you knew all the details, you'd know that we did it right. But again, it goes back to lawsuit.
The same exact thing is happening in Hills Corners, Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's happening all over the place. Yeah, this library thing. So let me talk about for a moment then the bill that passed today out of the Judiciary Committee. Now, just so you know, this is the Joint Judiciary Committee. They will determine whether it's going to go to the House or the Senate. And then as soon as the session starts, that will be one of the first bills that goes to that committee, either House or Senate, Judiciary, and then they'll move again through it like they did today. So it's by no means across the finish line, but this is the furthest we've ever gotten on a bill that stops the sexualization of children statewide. I just told you that our libraries, and it's only our public libraries that have this protection because of the library board that we had and the policy that they spent 2 years creating. That's why we have that protection here. But guess what? We don't have it in our schools. So these same books could be in our schools. So today we passed a bill that doesn't go down the path of using obscenity laws, which require what's called the Miller test. And basically it's community standards. It's very nebulous. It's very difficult to get a conviction. And by the way, you mentioned it before, librarians are exempt anyway. So you can never go after a librarian. We didn't go there with it. We've tried for 3 years, we've tried to do that, take away the librarian's exemption. Because if you or I gave those books to children, we'd go to jail, okay? But not a librarian. So today we passed a bill that said these things are defined as sexually explicit. It was modeled after the policy that Sage hired the outfit out of Florida to help write. And so we used a lot of the language from there. Am I loud enough here? I can't hear. I've got a ear infection or something, so let me know if I'm being too quiet. So this bill says that if you put sexually explicit material in children's section, there will be I can't recall, I think they ended up at a $500 fine, but you will have to pay all the court costs. It's all about being anybody that is a resident here in the district can sue. So if you find a book in the children's section, you have to do the challenge process. That way you find out if somebody just put it there that it shouldn't have been there. But if you challenge it and you lose, then you can sue. And if you win the lawsuit, they pay $500 and all of your court costs. So that's the way the bill looks right now. We had $50,000 in there, but no court costs. So they're probably going to be a lot worse off, because the attorneys get a lot more than $50,000 in one of these type of lawsuits. So that's what passed today. I think that's a tremendous step in the right direction. Passed overwhelmingly, and I'm sure that the librarians are really having a tough night tonight. Okay? And I don't know if it'll make the news, but maybe we can spread it all around ourselves that good news is happening on this front. So again, on the library settlement here in Campbell County, bottom line is, the books got moved in Campbell County. They're not getting moved elsewhere. We got it done, okay? Yeah, we got a $700,000 settlement. That sucks, but the books are moved, okay? Yes, Patty?
I do know that there have been several challenges
Trying to bring them back.
recently,
Mhm.
and all of them have been successful, and the books have been moved without having to go through the whole process. So
Right.
things are going well.
So the new director cost us $700,000 to get him, but he's a lot better. He's doing a better job, okay? So good news on that front here. And so we got to keep fighting, folks. We just have to keep working these angles on these things. Yes?
I love what you're telling us, it's great news.
So it's great news. Thank you, John. I'm curious because the counter arguments that I see, and I agree with everything you're telling us, it's awesome, is, well, we're legislating morality. The parents should have this job. And do you hear that in what you're doing? And how do you respond? I'm curious about that.
Well, it's a red herring. The parents have more power when you move it to the parents section. They determine if they're going to get it out of the parents section for their child or not. Now, as soon as they step out of that library, they might go to jail if they pick the wrong book and give it to their kids, because disseminating obscene materials to children it's a felony. Not for a librarian, but for the parent, it would be. So parents have more power when it's in the parents section. Once it's in the children's section, they're operating under the assumption that, their tax dollars are getting wholesome materials for their children. Well, that would be a bad assumption in today's world. Okay, all this comes back to the American Library Association and the agenda that they have. We're one of the few libraries, we're the first library and one of the few libraries that have extricated themselves from the ALA system. Now more work needs to be done on that front. Librarians like to have continuing education. I don't want to talk disparagingly about the education of a librarian, but the only place they can get that continuing education is from the American Library Association. So until some other source comes up, we're still going to use our tax dollars to send our librarians to the Lion's Den, the ALA, to get indoctrinated and then come back. So we need to help them understand some of the ALA mindset, which is very Marxist, very anti-family. We don't want it in our community. So they can get their continuing education, just don't bring that crap back with you, okay? And that's going to require the diligence of all of us to do that. And what was the other subject? Was it nuclear? Was that the other subject? So today, Radiant announced that they are going unreliable regulations in the state of Wyoming. Well, there's nothing unreliable about it. We've had the same regulations for decades, and that is no nuclear waste from other states in the state of Wyoming. And there's been 2 efforts in the last year to overturn that, and 3 actually. And all of those it's legitimate to say the Freedom Caucus is blocking it, because we blocked those and said, you know what? The president has said we're going to figure out what we're going to do with nuclear waste. They've got 240 days to figure that out. So that's going to end in January. Let's find out what they're going to do with it before we decide we're going to change our laws and allow stuff to come in here. Today, there was a coordinated attack on the Freedom Caucus saying they're doing everything they can to stop all business everywhere. I think you already know whether you should trust the media or not, okay? If you want to know where the Freedom Caucus stands on energy, you can go look at our website. It has a policy that we put up there over a year ago. It's very clear. We do support nuclear. We have a big question mark when it comes to nuclear waste. So we're in a wait and see pattern on nuclear waste. Right now, my polling data says that 70% of the people in this community do not want nuclear waste from other states to come here. Okay? Now, we are in a bit of a quandary with BWXT and this $100 million. That's what you were wanting to ask me about, was the $100 million. And it's $100 million, folks. So may I take a minute and give you a little history about this $100 million? So for 2 years, the Freedom Caucus has been trying to pull this money away from the governor. We gave it to him about 2.5 years ago, and gave no strings attached. He could go out and find projects where he could get matching dollars and just give it to them. And so during this last session, I was the chairman of House Appropriations, and we wrote the joint appropriations biennial budget. And what we did is we took $150 million, all that he had at that time, away from him, okay? And in that supplemental budget, we were removing all that away from him. We're taking it back. And we put that back into the budget so we could spend it on tax relief for you, okay? Well, it's not so awesome because guess what the Senate did to the supplemental budget, okay? They killed the supplemental budget. And when the budget was killed, the $150 million was freed up for the governor to use. So far this year, he gave $5 million of that $152 million to Bill Gates for a horizontal wind experiment. Bill Gates, who needs our tax dollars, like, you know what I'm saying. Right. And several other projects like that. But there's this one account that's got $100 million in it. Nobody's had a big enough project where they could match and use it until now. And BWXT came along and they want all of it. And I had a conversation with BWXT and I said, you know, what's going to happen if you don't get this $100 million? And this is weeks ago. They said, well, we're not coming. They said, we could do this project in Tennessee for $400 million. So if we're coming here, we need another $100 million because it's going to cost $500 to do it here. And they know, because they watched me take it away from the governor all last winter, they know where I'm standing on this. And so they're not excited about it, but they feel like they can get it done before I get back in session. And that's the reality, is there's a good chance that, and the governor's been trying to do that. He's been trying to spend all that $152 million as fast as he can because he knows I'm going to come for it if I get back in there. The good news is the next budget, I can guarantee you, will not have any more money for the governor to spend like that, even if we have a good governor. They're not going to get to spend money without your representative having a voice on what happens with that money, okay? So if we even have a matching funds. Honestly, this is corporate welfare. That's my mindset on it. This $100 million, if they can't come here and do business without us, the taxpayers, and let's face it, where did this $100 million come from? Who really paid it? We paid some of it, but who paid the lion's share of this? Coal, oil, and gas. So now we're using coal, oil, and gas tax money to pay for nuclear, which is going to compete with coal, oil, and gas. That's what I call picking winners and losers. Jack?
Quick question, John.
Yep.
The state gives them $100 million, and I believe the number they're saying employees would be about 250. Am I correct? And a third of that at least will be their own people they're going to bring over to run this facility. So if you realize 70, 75 to 80 jobs, you know, 100 million, you could feed all of them for decades. So there's no really uptick to the community of Gillette from a people standpoint, even a tax standpoint. So I'm trying to understand through the lens of the governor or anyone else, what is the benefit to Gillette or state of Wyoming for that $100 million? That needs to be answered by somebody.
I think the answer you're going to get is the economic activity. You know, you've heard the proponents of economic development and using tax dollars to try to get businesses to do business. Sorry, I'm not a fan of it either. But that's going to be the argument as well. And it's the attack right now. There's several articles came out all at once today attacking the Freedom Caucus for blocking what Radiant wanted to do. I think Radiant is a problematic company anyway. It's a startup that doesn't know much about what they're doing. I do have a little more faith in BWXT, but we need to be cautious because they're asking for 600 acres of that ranch that the commissioners just bought. It's a 5,000 acre ranch. So they don't want to take the whole thing, but they want to probably take the best part of it, where Donkey Creek's going through there. And do they need 600 acres to do this triso fuel development? I don't think so. So what do they got planned? And so we need to be cautious of that and think about that. But what they're doing right now, there's no law against them, what they're thinking about doing. So
I talked to a couple guys that are in the energy business, and what they're selling the idea of nuclear, that facility coming here, is what's going to happen because coal is drying up. They're telling all of them that coal's drying up, gas is drying up and oil's drying up. So we have to have something to sustain Gillette. That's their whole,
That's
their
the
argument.
local argument.
Yep.
Which I think is pretty tone deaf to what the Trump administration is saying about coal, oil, and gas. You know, just so you know, I'm going to break some news here, but it's going to come eventually anyway. There's a very, very good chance that we're going to see a coal-fired power plant in the near future, right here in our community, okay? That needs to be an example to the rest of the world. We need to do it, we need to do it right, okay? And if I had something to do with that $100 million right now, that's where I would put it. Because that's where it came from. It came from the coal industry. Give it back to them. Just like your 25% property tax cut, okay? Everybody knows they got a 25% off of their property taxes this year. Does everybody know you need to go fill out some paperwork to get it next year? Thank you, Democrats, for making it harder to get it next year. Can I just share a praise with you all? I mean, you probably all know that I raised a lot of money to try to get us more conservative candidates in the legislature. And it's been working pretty well so far. But when we came out of this session, after getting the 25%, we tried for 50. We didn't get it, but we got 25% property tax cut. We've been trying to do that for the 5 years that I've been in the legislature. And so we finally got it done once we got the majority in the House, okay? But I'm thinking, nobody's going to look at their bill. Nobody's going to pay attention. Nobody's going to realize they got a 25% property tax break. Why does everybody in the state know they've got 25% property tax break right now? Because everybody's complaining. All these elected officials that want to tax and spend you to death are bitching and moaning that the Wyoming Freedom Caucus gave you a 25% property tax break. That would have cost me $1 million to inform you all of that, okay? So they're doing our work for us, and you know what else would cost me a lot of money? Is to try to point out who are the tax and spend politicians. And they're doing it for us right now when they're complaining about you getting 25% off after your property taxes have gone up. In some parts of the state, they've gone up 300% in the last 5 years. So you getting a measly 25% back it's not even fair based on the increases that you've had to deal with. And by the way, during those 5 years that I've been fighting for you guys to get some property tax relief, the state has put away $2.4 billion into savings. Their savings. It's yours, it's your money too, but the idea is that the earnings off of that savings account is going to keep them from raising taxes later. Does anybody believe that they're going to spend less just because they don't need to tax you? No, they're going to continue to tax you, and they'll just spend more. So, sorry I didn't mean to take so much time to answer those questions, but I think I answered them, so. Yeah.
One more question, probably the only person that would know if Harriet has made a decision at all?
She's not saying.
Okay.
So
I had a text too from her.
Yeah. So I'm still hopeful. Wanda?
Our big new power plant, that's without carbon capture, right?
That is right. I'm going to tell you a little story here about that. So we got to Washington. You know, I went with Bo Beitman. I was supposed to go babysit him to make sure he wasn't selling us down the river for nuclear waste. By the way, in my presence, he never offered nuclear waste to the federal government storage, but probably because I was there. So while I was there, we did go to talk to the fossil fuels part of DOE. And these are bureaucrats, so they've been in there through the Biden administration and before. And so we told them, we're ready to build a new coal-fired power plant. They said, that's great. Are you going to put carbon capture on it? And we said, no, it's financially impossible because it takes a third of the power just to operate it. So now you've added 50% to your cost already. So it's not feasible. And you could see they were a little disappointed. Well, unfortunately for them, there was a member of the White House staff in this meeting and overheard their reaction. And suddenly he took over the meeting and said, oh, we're going to help you get coal-fired power plant built, okay? And I don't know whatever happened to those guys, but I would suspect if I went back to Washington, I might not find them. So I was pleasantly surprised everywhere I went. I did not want to go to Washington. I was like fourth string. The other three guys wouldn't go, so couldn't go, so I went. It's usually a depressing thing but it was not depressing this time because the Trump administration is serious. Everywhere we went, they said, if you've got a federal bureaucrat in your way, call us. We'll get it fixed immediately. And so they want us working and getting stuff done. And you may have heard that on the way out of office, Biden threw a whole bunch of money at wind and solar. That account, they've taken over that account and they renamed it because it had such a bad name because of Biden. And now it is the Energy Dominance Fund. And so they're going to use that money to help us get coal-fired power plants. They're already using it to get more leases opened up for coal. So the whole argument that, you know, coal's dead because you can't get a federal lease is bunk now, okay? So we have literally 500 years worth of coal in the ground between here and the Bighorns, okay? It just gets deeper and a little more expensive to get further west you go. 500 years worth. So we don't have to dive into this nuclear so fast that we regret it later. We need to think about this. Okay? First of all, right here.
Just a suggestion, when they do need coal to this power plant, the Navajo Transitional Group, I'm just saying that we would love to help them out.
Navajo Transition is the one that was an article that when everybody else was saying no to coal, what did Navajo Transitional do? They invested in our community when everybody else was saying no, and now they're profitable and going gangbusters. So you'd get my vote for that.
Before Gordon hands off that $100 million by basically hobbling the coal industry to subsidize the nuclear, with the premise that it's going to create jobs, has anyone done any calculations on how many jobs you would lose here by undermining coal companies like Komatsu and CAT and all the various welding shops and the the railways and stuff?
I haven't heard anybody that's done the calculation, but you know in your heart that it's going to be devastating compared to the 200 jobs that we might get. Trink?
And piggybacking on the idea of jobs, I'm just wondering, I thought I heard that you need to have a 2-year, you have to go to college for 2 years to get trained for these jobs. So if that's true, how many people from Gillette are actually going to be able to go to college and get this? Will the jobs even be there when they get out? I don't know if I heard that correctly or not, but that just seems it's not, except for a secretary, maybe a receptionist.
I think that the BWXT thing is legit. Whether we fill those with current people or not, eventually down the road, one of the big things is our people leave. Young people leave. There's just not enough job opportunities. And they want to go see the big city and check that all out. I mean, there's a lot of factors in why people leave. But when they're older and smarter and have gotten all their liberalism out of their system, a lot of them come back. So I don't think it's as big a problem as they make out of it, but I think that this is a thing that might hold a couple hundred kids around here. And that'd be good. That'd be good. As long as they don't expand it to something that brings nuclear waste here without a solution for that from the federal government.
So I have a bit of a convoluted lead up to a very simple question. So when BWXT was here, I spoke with their material scientist at length, very sharp young lady, very straightforward, very knowledgeable. And Trink and I spoke with their attorney, and I did a back of the napkin calculation on water consumption. Hundreds of thousands to millions of gallons is what I estimated. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's an order of magnitude is probably in there. So my first question is, where is that going to come from? Second question is, they talk about waste on-site treatment. Who in Wyoming manages, because they mentioned all these contaminants that would be in the water, and the two most concerning was uranium and ammonia. Ammonia is scary. DEQ, okay.
And they're trying to get primacy. They already have some primacy. DEQ is the Department of Environmental Quality. That's the Wyoming office for the EPA. And many parts of the EPA laws we have taken over, and we have what's called primacy, where the state actually enforces it. The good part about the state doing this is there's a lot less delay waiting on the feds. The bad part is that we can't have any less regulation than the EPA. And sometimes our own bureaucrats think we need to have a lot more. And so I've fought with our own bureaucrats to help our coal industry out where our own DEQ has gone off the rails. So those are Those are just the things when you're dealing with the government. That's why we have a representative government. That's why we're always fighting it. Okay, when I walked in, I apologize. Laura, you were going over the cemetery board. I do have something I'd like to share with you all that I'm working on with Bob Jordan, okay? I'm not sure you can all keep it under your hat, but I think the real solution is to get rid of the cemetery board, to dissolve it, okay? With the dissolving of the cemetery board, you take the entire 3/4 mil and it goes away, okay? And that's important. Now, they have $44 million in reserve. The earnings off of that currently cover their expenditures. They're just putting it back in the bank. So it could self-sustain if they had that fund transferred over to the county commissioners. The county commissioners, they can manage it themselves if they want, or they can appoint a board like they do the library. And that board would then manage the cemetery. And they, we could have some pull with the commissioners whether we're going to have concerts in the cemetery and whether we're going to spend our money, or that now is going to be a lot more limited, whether we're going to spend it on things like Happy Girls Don't Do That, let alone our Economic Development Corporation, which is what does Troy call it, a self-licking ice cream cone? That's what, when our government agencies are the top contributors to a pseudo-government agency that has no oversight, and we can't FOIA, we can't public records request their books, giving money to them. So our school district is a member of Economic Development Corporation. Why are if they scream that I'm not giving them enough money, and they're giving money to the Economic Development Corporation. Our cemetery district, our county commission, our city council are all members of the Economic Development Corporation. Now, it probably is. You can go look at their website. It'll show you who's who on there. So this is insane. So I finally got some research done, and there's 3 ways. Talked to Wanda today, because one of the ways you can get rid of the cemetery district is to have a petition. Wanda and I worked out the math. We think it's probably between 3,000 and 3,500 Campbell County voter signatures it would take to bring that and get it on. What would happen is then it would go on the ballot in 2026. So the second way is that Jim Hastings and his board would say, we want to get it on the ballot to dissolve it. Anybody think that's going to happen? And then the third way is that the county commissioners can do it. So we just need 3 county commissioners. Wanda told me that though she would be willing to do all the work to get all those 3,500 signatures, she said it would be easier to get 3 signatures, 3,500. So, so I want you all to think about that. Let's just eliminate the darn thing. Even if we don't get it done, it will send a great message to the cemetery district. You know what? You abuse taxpayer dollars, we're not just going to kick you out of office, which we should be doing that anyway. We're going to take your whole toy away from you, okay? Because clearly you don't need it. This cemetery district has been in place since 1965, and I'm sure some good things have been done with it. We have some of the most beautiful cemeteries. We have 8 of them. There's a 9th one that hasn't been opened yet. They probably won't have to open it. More and more people are cremating now instead of burying. So they've got another one prepared. Jim Hastings has a 100-year plan on how he's going to use that space. He wants to build an arboretum. We need to have, there is one thing about arboretums. I was told that there's a pretty girl behind every tree in Gillette. So we could use some more trees.
That's how I got here. That's how I got to Gillette.
Looking for the trees?
No, yeah. I was flying over and I'm like, where are all the trees at?
Anyway, that's, I think, a much more, if we can all get behind the idea of let's just get rid of the darn district, that'll send a very strong message to Jim Hastings. I heard he didn't want to apologize to me. Okay, so somebody needs to figure out what it is I need to apologize to him for. Okay, all right. We have fun. If it weren't for people like Jim Hastings, we would have had to do that job. Okay, so let's remember that he's done something that we probably didn't want to do, but he has gotten out of line. These are tax dollars. He's not the king, so he doesn't get to decide how they're going to get spent. Okay?
He's got three new people on that board, or fairly new. And, he's got them kind of wrapped around his little finger. And it's sad. So I think the push that we're bringing is getting, I know Dean Meyer said he was listening and things like that and learning. And so I think it will help for us to go and be there and to make comments and so forth. But these are newbies and they're easily influenced. And I think that's why we're seeing what we're seeing right now, for the most part.
I'd like to add one more thing. Another blessing that could come out of this. Me personally, I've always voted against the 1 penny tax because I think it's spent on things that government shouldn't be spending money on. Sage and I have argued about that from time to time, but they're going to have to vote on we're going to be voting on the 1 cent tax. So getting things done on a ballot takes money. And the other side has always spent a lot of money to get that 1 cent tax passed. Well, if they have to defend their self-licking ice cream cone from being dissolved and increase keep the 1 cent sales tax, then they're going to have to split their money up. So let's drain their pocketbooks when it comes to that. Okay? All right. Those are just some ideas, folks.
Thank you, John. And that's good news. We heard some good news tonight, and thanks for bringing the good news. We really, really appreciate that. And again, remember, the cemetery board's coming up, so we'll publish the dates that we can go, and if you're not working during the day and you can get free. I see those 3 individuals on the board, and we could really influence them. It doesn't have to be influenced by those that like to spend money a lot. And so that's kind of our job. Yeah. Yeah, Paul.
Oh, I wanted to thank John too on calling out those in the Republican meeting we had a couple weeks ago. And I wanted to thank John for calling out those that are not real Republicans. Because I think that's where we stand. We've got good and evil, and there's no in between. So I'm trying to do biblically, call them out as I do it. And I think that everybody should just be calling them out as they are. And one, personally, I call Barlow out as a rhino, actually a liberal Democrat. And why he's running as a Republican, he should run, I'd respect him more if he ran as a Democrat. And and I'm only going off of his record and what he's voted for, what he's for, and who influences him. So,
Please use the term Liz Cheney Republican.
what's that?
Please use the term Liz Cheney Republican.
Okay, there you go.
That's a good one.
Is there an update on that challenge to the $7,000 voucher program for the public school, for the private schools?
Yeah.
I mean, the Constitution doesn't give the right to form a monopoly, the public schools.
All right, so the question was, what's going on with the ESAs? And the comment was, the Constitution doesn't allow them to have a monopoly. I agree with you, the Constitution does not allow them to have a monopoly, but it does say that we have to fund public education, and we should. Our founders stated that, only a well-educated populace can hold on to a republic. Now, I would argue that what we're getting out of public education is not well-educated right now. But I also believe that competition will improve things. And the only way we're ever going to get to excellence is to have some competition. That's why, since I've been in the legislature, we've been pushing 2 fronts on the choice. One is charter schools, and we're doing better and better on that. We only have 3 charter schools in the state right now, but we finally took people like Albert Summers out of the equation. By the way, Albert Summers, who fought us on all school choice, the rumor is he's going to be running for superintendent of instruction. So Megan Degenfelder's job. So be prepared to rise up against that next year. And he will be the WEA, the Wyoming Education Association's darling. So I've been fighting for that for years, and we've been fighting on the charter school front and on this education savings account front. We got it passed. The Senate, they forced us to accept a piece that's preschool. We had it completely out in the House, no preschool paid for by the taxpayers. But unfortunately, there's a little piece that's in there for preschool. And the reason I don't like that is we don't need to give our children to the school system any sooner than we already are. Whether it's school choice or not, we just don't need them. And we should be promoting parents taking care of their kids as much as we possibly can. But the short circuit way of getting our schools to provide better education for our children is to have that competition. The ESA bill would do that very quickly. The money was all set to go out. I think it's 4,000 families. 4,000 families had these $7,000 scholarships lined up. And then the WEA sued and ripped it right out from under them. Can't say I'm surprised by that. Where we're at currently is that they went judge shopping, found a liberal judge. He said, yeah, they can't do this, and put a stay on it the day the money was supposed to go out to the parents. They stopped it. So that got to the Supreme Court just this week to try to overturn the stay. That's all that was decided on this week, was that the stay will stay in place. So we're not going to be able to get the money to the parents. Well, and it doesn't go to the parents, it goes to the school. So the ESA funds the child, not the system, okay? So we need to quit funding systems. That's what's gotten us this monopoly that you're talking about, is we're funding that system. So my belief is that this is going to have to go to the United States Supreme Court. So you're going to see it go to our Supreme Court next, but I do believe it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court. And the reason is there's states like Montana and other states that had the same amendment to their constitutions called the Blaine Amendment, which says that you can't give money to sectarian causes for education, meaning churches, meaning religious schools. Well, the ESA says we're going to do it anyway. So it is unconstitutional at the moment, but that caveat has been overturned by the United States Supreme Court in Montana, in several other states. Wyoming needs to have that overturned. We need to get rid of that. That is unconstitutional. And so we'll fix the Wyoming Constitution and at the same time fix the ESA. So as you know, that means it's probably going to be years down the road. I wish we'd started 5 years ago so we'd be 5 years closer, but we didn't get it passed until this year. So now we're on that track. Eric had it wrong, and I called him on it. And that's what we have to do. We have to keep speaking truth, folks. I think Charlie Kirk, that's one of the things he did. He would not let a lie stand. And we can't let a lie stand either. So all these lies about Freedom Caucus doesn't want industry, it's a lie. And we can't let that stand. So we're going to keep fighting. Next time we can talk about data centers.
Oh, yeah, because we need to talk because that's where this all, does it end? Does it ever end? But that's kind of the road that they're shooting at. Anyway, let me say this, and we kept you for a while, and I appreciate you bearing with us. I also have a video to show. It's about 16 minutes. Maybe I'll just run it, and if you want to stay, that's fine. You can watch it. It'll really benefit you. But let me close with this. Several of us went to this cemetery board meeting. I would like to say that the meeting, though I appreciated the fact that people could just speak out and just could stand up and just yell if they wanted to or whatever. I really feel that meetings need to be kept in order. And so I'm hoping the next meeting, cemetery board meeting that we go to, it will be kept in an orderly manner, or conducted in an orderly manner. And I will speak to the powers that be over there to please do that. Because what it made us, it made us look, it didn't make us look good. It really didn't. Yes, John?
can you organize everybody so that they get in a line and only talk one at a time, or?
Well, that's what I got
I
to.
wouldn't count on Jim Hastings to do it.
Yeah, and I think I can do that, but, what was I gonna say? Got a little bit accosted this week, I'll say that. And basically, they said that, I picked up everybody on a school bus and brought them to, I had nothing to do with that, John, nothing. But anyway, so, yeah, let's try to keep ourselves orderly in that next meeting, as orderly as we can. I know we're all passionate about this, and, but if we can just speak one at a time and not yell out or whatever, but just raise our hands. I tried to do that, I really did. I tried to raise my hand, be very in order, and I stand up to speak and so on and so forth, be recognized by the chair. I believe I'm saying this right. Be recognized by the chair to speak and not just speak out. I think we'll do a much better job, and they won't be able to blame us for, trying to create anarchy in the place, even though that wasn't our intention. And of course, the Patriot group got, you brought the Patriot group to accost us and to be mean to us and this and that and the other thing. It was just like the library, and we don't. Just people go there to speak their mind, that's all. Yes?
Jim Hastings and Charlie Anderson, brothers from another mother.
They might be related, I don't know. We'll have to see. But anyway, that's basically all I have to share. Do you want to stay for a video, 16-minute video, or we can, are you?
Let's do it.
Okay, all right.
One quick question, though.
Yeah.
I'm pretty ignorant because I'm pretty straightforward. What do we need a cemetery board for? You got one person to answer the phone and one guy to dig the grave and mow the grass. What is the board, maybe this is too big a question, what is the board needed for? I don't understand.
If you go to the meeting, they will justify what they do, obviously, and it might be a little bit more complex than that, Ron, but not much. And, basically they have the mill to fund themselves, and I believe they've taken advantage of it. And so that's why we need to speak out. Yes, Wanda?
I didn't feel like it was us that was out of hand, it was the other people.
Well, I feel the same way you do, but obviously, when meetings get out of hand, and it's almost like a trap, I think, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, they're gonna push it over on us, but we just need to be careful. So let me run the video, and if you have to go, that's fine, but I believe this is very beneficial. Real quick, I always keep, when I'm at a meeting, a public meeting, I always keep this in the forefront. What kind of a government is this supposed to be? And I believe this should, so I always fall back on it. I've appreciated this video, and so I've cut it in half. Half I'll show next time, half I'll show this time. So let me roll that. I am, how did you know that, Ron?